Even though the 2022 midterm elections were not the massive nationwide red tsunami that some people had predicted, there's no doubt that Tuesday night was still a big success for the GOP. When you look at taking back control of the House, when you look at some key Senate victories and potentially taking control of the Senate as soon as Nevada and Arizona stop finding votes to count and eventually get all of this done. And of course, the massive good news that we had in Florida, truly a red tsunami swept through the entire state of Florida, with Governor Ron DeSantis winning at a nearly 60% to 40% clip over Charlie Crist, as well as some big key pickups for Republicans throughout the entire state. But now that's not what people are going to be talking about. Now, what people are probably going to be focused on, at least for the next several weeks and potentially several months and even up till 2024, is what happened today. Now, we know that over the weekend, just before the midterms, Donald Trump said, Ron DeSanctimonious. He took that little shot at a rally. And then the next day he did endorse Ron DeSantis for governor, even said that he voted for Ron DeSantis. Well, now that the midterm elections are over, it looks like a lot of stuff is boiling to the surface right now because Donald Trump just took a very open and detailed shot at Governor Ron DeSantis. Governor Ron DeSantis, who just had a massive win in Florida. Full disclosure, I was at the DeSantis rally on Saturday, and I was at the DeSantis celebration in Tampa the night of his re-election. And the energy there was crazy. He's got a lot of nationwide attention, both from liberals and conservative news networks saying, hey, could this be the guy for 2024? Donald Trump does not like that and evidently had some problems with some of the things that Ron DeSantis has been reportedly doing, potentially doing behind the scenes. Let's look at all this. Trump unloads on DeSantis, accuses him of lacking class and loyalty. And I gotta be real. This is coming. We're going to read through this entire statement. This is coming as a pretty big surprise to me in general that it's this open. I've heard from a couple people in the know that, a few weeks ago, Trump DeSantis for a 2024 ticket was pretty much, boom, checking the box, good to go. Now, with all this playing out in public, there's no doubt that you have to question everything that has gone on and that will go on. But here it is. This is real. This is verified because he also put it out over on Truth Social. Statement by Donald J. Trump. News Corp, which is Fox, The Wall Street Journal, and no longer Great New York Post, is all in for Governor Ron DeSanctimonious, an average Republican governor with a great public relations who didn't have to close up his state, but did, unlike other Republican governors whose overall numbers for a Republican were just average, middle of the pack, including COVID, and who has the advantage of sunshine where people from badly run states up north will go, no matter who the governor was, just like I did. Let's take this first statement. They did close Florida very briefly, and then very quickly Ron DeSantis turned around and said, no, we're going to open this back up. There does seem to be some irritation between Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis about maybe the way COVID is handled. Ron DeSantis very openly has been anti-lockdown and anti-forced vax and forced vax mandates and vax cards and all these things. And in reality, even though he did take it initially and said, hey, if you want to do that, you can too. In recent months, he's very much shifted over to be very anti-jab in general. But let's continue on. And I would, again, I'm just an average Republican governor. I don't think that's a fair thing to say about DeSantis, but obviously Donald Trump is very upset right now. Ron came to me in desperate shape in 2017. He was politically dead, losing in a landslide to a very good agriculture commissioner, Adam Putman, who was loaded up with cash and great poll numbers. Ron had low approval, bad polls, and no money, but he said if I endorsed him, he could win. I didn't know Adam, so I said, let's give it a shot, Ron. When I endorsed him, it was though a nuclear weapon went off. Years later, those are the exact words Adam Putman used in describing Ron's endorsement. He said, I went from having it made with no competition to immediately getting absolutely clobbered after your endorsement. Then I got Ron by the star of the Democratic Party, Andrew Gillum, who was later revealed to be a crackhead, by having two massive rallies with tens of thousands of people at each one. I also fixed his campaign, which had completely fallen apart. I was all in for Ron and he beat Gillum. But after the race, when votes were being stolen by the corrupt election process in Broward County and Ron was going down 10,000 votes a day, along with now Senator Rick Scott, I sent the FBI and U.S. attorneys, and the ballot theft immediately ended just prior to them running out of votes necessary to win. I stopped his election from being stolen. A lot of people are now questioning this entire thing about sending the FBI down there and U.S. attorneys. That is a different story. But let's take a look at this paragraph for a second. There's no doubt that Ron DeSantis would not have been Ron DeSantis without the endorsement of Donald Trump. Ron DeSantis barely won that governor election. What is like 30, 40,000 votes, something like that, just barely snuck by over Andrew Gillum, who would have been a terrible disaster. So there's no doubt that Ron DeSantis does owe that start to Donald Trump. You can't deny that. Without that Trump endorsement, Ron DeSantis as a politician does not exist. With all that being said, with the things that he has done, especially 2020 and on, Ron DeSantis was put in that position, but he has flourished. He has been incredible. He has been amazing. He's been much more than an average Republican governor. There is no doubt about that. And now, Ron DeSanctimonious is playing games. The fake news asked him if he's going to run if President Trump runs, and he says, I'm only focused on the governor's race. I'm not looking into the future. Well, in terms of loyalty and class, that's really not the right answer. This is just like 2015 and 16, a media assault collusion when Fox News fought me to the end until I won, and then they couldn't have been nicer or more supportive. The Wall Street Journal loved low-energy Jeb Bush and a succession of other people as they rapidly disappeared from sight, finally falling in line with me after I easily knocked them out one by one. We're in exactly the same position now. They'll keep coming after us, MAGA, but ultimately we will win. Put America first and make America great again. This is all real. Again, it's on Truth Social as well. You can go check that out. I think one of the things is, and a caveat on Truth Social, let's see if I can find screenshots. Yeah, he does say, now that midterms are over and a success, that is the one thing that he does add over there. So saying I held this back till after the midterms. I think this is a terrible fucking look. Ron DeSantis has not responded. Ron DeSantis is only tweeting out information about the hurricane that's passing through Florida and information and things like that. I don't think it's a good look for Trump. I don't think he's necessarily worried about that. He has never been a guy that necessarily worried about that, but he always does have a reason for what he's doing. I think that a couple things can be possible here. We've heard reports from left-wing news sources that have constantly been trying to drum up controversy, that, Ron DeSantis is in big talks with the establishment Republicans. They want him to run. They want him to challenge Trump. We've heard those things. I have also heard that there are big money donor types that want Ron DeSantis to run instead of Trump. These are two separate things. The establishment Republican candidates and these big money donors that want Ron DeSantis to run. But I do think there's also just the reality that the news has been fawning over Ron DeSantis for good reason. He turned what has been a swing state in Florida, and it's a sea of fucking red. Was it just him and him alone? Of course not. Of course not. A lot of people that support Donald Trump, of course, are supporting Ron DeSantis. But when you look at that number that was from the 2018 election till now, it is a massive, massive spread. And that is due to what Ron DeSantis has been doing to actually govern. Now, in public, I have not heard Ron DeSantis say a single fucking bad thing. Could he be planning and scheming behind the scenes? Certainly. I have no doubts that people have come and talked to him about things like this. But, the answer that Trump said he was upset about, I'm only focused on the governor's race. I'm not looking in the future. It's kind of the same exact thing that Kari Lake said. When people ask Kari Lake, hey, or would you be willing to be a vice president if Donald Trump asks you? She says, you know what? I'm focused on Arizona. I'm going to be here for the next several years, because that's the question you have to give when you're running for election, because you don't want to give the appearance that if people do elect you, you're just going to be gone. That's fucking obviously the case. Overall, I love Ron DeSantis. I do think he's the future of the Republican Party, but that doesn't mean that Donald Trump is all of a sudden out of the mix. That doesn't mean that means Donald Trump needs to sit on the sideline for Ron DeSantis to take his turn. I think everybody knows that is not going to happen, and it shouldn't happen necessarily. I will very happily vote for either of these gentlemen in 2024, but I think we need to understand the reality of the situation. Donald Trump wants to run again in 2024. He is going to run again in 2024, regardless of what's best for anybody. That's what he wants to do. He feels the need to do this after the bullshit that we saw happen in 2020, and who can really blame him? If the Republicans, if Ron DeSantis, whoever, does try to go up against him, even if they won a primary, even if that did happen, there is no way that Trump would be okay with that, and there's no way that they would get the support from the MAGA crowd that they would need to win a general election. They need to understand that despite everything they may want, what reality they want, that's not the actual reality, and that everybody does need to be unified on this coming into 2024. It is a lose-lose situation. And it's also a lose-lose situation to, I think, be this up in public about things at a time where we should really start to be fucking unified. When we realize that this red wave that didn't really come to fruition nationwide, that there are still some things to figure out. It's not just going to be that easy, even with someone in office like Joe Biden. and it's disappointing to see this bullshit play out the way it has. I get that Trump's upset about it, especially if there are these established media people who never wanted him to be president. They're starting to creep out and be, yeah, Ron DeSantis, yeah, Ron DeSantis. But at the same time, this is a fucking terrible look, in my opinion, when it comes to the Republican Party and the unity that it needs to fucking have going forward to 2024. It's certainly a messy and complicated situation. Be interesting to see how things play out going forward. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. It's definitely going to ramp up because Tuesday, November 15th, Trump is going to announce that he's running for president of the United States once again in 2024. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.